to help bring your ideas. This video is brought to you by Game Maker, the free, fast, and easy-to-use 2D game engine that helps power modern classics like Undertale, Hotline Miami, and Hyper Light Drifter. Starter templates, official asset bundles, and a wealth of tutorials are available to help bring your ideas to life. And you can export and share your game for free on all non-console platforms. But you don't have to take my word for it, I'm just some jerk. We have an actual bona fide Game Maker on hand.
Oh shit, that's me. Yes, I've been using Game Maker for a long time. It's probably the most powerful and easiest to use engine for making 2D games out there, suitable for both amateurs and hardcore coders, and with all the Steam and console integration stuff for when you're ready to start monetizing your hobbies. I used it to make my recently released game, Starstruck Vagabond, which has already delighted thousands of sci-fi cozy game aficionados, thanks to Game Maker being so bloody great.
Head on over to the Game Maker link in the description to begin your game development journey today.
Hello, welcome to the Windbreakers podcast. I'm Yahtzee. I'm joined by Jay and Marty as always.
Hello.
Hello.
And this week, for some reason, we thought nostalgia might be in the air. Perhaps we could all remember a time when things were less crap. So, to that end, we put the question to you, viewers. Were things better a decade ago? Because what the fuck is anyone doing if the world isn't generally getting better? And so let's think about how games have improved over the last decade and try to come to the conclusion of if things have been generally on an upward swing.
Mm-hmm.
Initial thoughts, my lads?
So if we're specifically looking at 2014, sort of as this thought exercise,
yes.
Let's look at 2014, which was 10 years
naturally
ago.
that would be the starting point. Yes.
And looking at what the gaming landscape was like then, what all our favorite studios were doing then, what the indie space looked like, what AAA space, what the best-selling games and the Game of the Year nominees and winners were. And when I look at that, I think 2014 is across the board a pretty terrible year for games. I think if you look at what we have this year, I think there is no world that 2024 isn't better than what was going on in 2014.
So you said this before we started recording, and I was like, I made a similar sound. I think 2014.
It was a good year.
Looking back over my reviews from that year, I think I've been doing this a long time. There are many years where I go, "Oh, that was a bit of a stinker," but I think 2014 had a pretty strong, proportionate list of bangers. And every year is going to have some bangers. Let's not be overly selective. Every year is going to have some shitty ones. I mean, I'm looking at my list. To put this in context, 2014 would have been right at the dawn of the PlayStation 4 life. That came out just at the end of 2013. My first reviews were for the PlayStation 4's launch titles, just Knack, which was, granted, dog shit. Sure. And then Killzone Shadowfall, which I remember very little about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But as we move through the year, oh Christ, Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2, forgot about that one. Best not remembered.
Also garbage, yeah.
Okay, but how about this? Wolfenstein: The New Order in June. The first of the Neo Wolfensteins, the first and still the best.
Absolutely. That is insane. There is no way it's better than the second one. That's one of my points I'm going to get to, which, Jay, I kind of want to... Okay, before I dig into it too much, Jay, where do you fall on the spectrum?
So I was kind of caught in the middle between, not your two extremes before we started, but I think there are some bangers like that did come out. Alien Isolation is one that came out in 2014.
Yes, quite. And in the same time period, the same month even, Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor as well.
Yeah.
Quite the banger, I would say.
Wardor. But also, I think there's quite a lot of kind of like, I mean, one of the worst things that happened in 2014 is Five Nights at Freddy's came out. That's a bit of a plague. Like PT, that's a huge disappointment. Like, it's great that it was made.
Okay, that's insane because PT's the best thing of 2014.
No, it is, but it just keeps reminding me that we're never getting that game, and it makes me sad.
So
okay, I'm looking at the list again, and I think you might have gotten your biases a little skewed because the first half of 2014 was full of a lot of shite. But the second half of 2014, I mean, look at this. Wolfenstein: The New Order, Alien Isolation, Shadow of Mordor, Evil Within, Sunset Overdrive, Marty.
Second best game of the year.
Dragon Age Inquisition, Talos Principle, Assassin's Creed Unity, as appeared in the thumbnail. And I suspect you're going to argue that Assassin's Creed Unity deserves a reassessment.
I do. Oh. I do think Assassin's Creed Unity. I think Unity, both Unity and Jesus, what was the English one that came out? The next one,
Syndicate.
I think those two very much clearly feel like the end of classic Assassin's Creed. You know, afterwards, obviously Odyssey and Origins became.
Well, I think this was
action RPGs.
This was 2014 was definitely the start of Ubisoft's like slow descent into shit.
Yeah.
So one of the things I'm going to argue is that we name a lot of games, and we name a lot of games from a lot of franchises, and games that are not clearly, in my mind, not the best games in those franchises. So this had a lot of sequels and a lot of first attempts. This had the first Watch Dogs, which I do not think is the best Watch Dogs game.
No, I think a lot of people would come with you on that one.
Yeah. It had Smash for the Wii U and 3DS, which I think clearly is not the best Smash game. Bayonetta 2, which I think most people would agree is not the best Bayonetta game. AC Unity, not the best AC game. Destiny, clearly improved upon in Destiny 2. Wolfenstein, I guess your mileage may vary on which the best one is. The original Titanfall, Far Cry 4, all games that I think either subsequent games or previous games did the mission statement way better than those games did.
Well, I think my positivity towards 2014 perhaps comes from the fact that there were a lot of new IPs and new ideas in 2014.
That is
some getting off to shaky starts. Some get off to shaky starts, but that is the creative process, my friend. And I think there's a lot of positivity in new things when compared to a year that's just full of hashed out sequels of established pap, which is more of the sort of thing we tend to see in more modern times.
I do agree that it's nice. Like when you look at some of those big AAA games, it was cool that we got new franchises, even if they were based on something. In Watch Dogs, in South Park: The Stick of Truth, Shadow of Mordor, Wolfenstein, Destiny, Titanfall, Evil Within. Like, I think it is cool that we saw those new franchises, but I just don't think. Like, when I remember voting for Game of the Year then and the Game Awards, like, let's look at what was going on at the Game Awards there. Do you guys remember what won Game of the Year at the Game Awards?
I know what...
Not 2014.
I know what my Game of the Year was. It was Shadow of Mordor. And I will concede that felt like kind of a drug option.
Yeah, if you had if you had to list all of your Game of the Years every time you've done it, that would probably be one of the lower ones, I would imagine, right?
You know what? In retrospect, speaking of 2024, I think I was wrong and I should have made Wolfenstein: The New Order my Game of the Year.
Okay, look at that. You should do a video where you redo all your Game of the Years.
I think perhaps that might be a good thing to fill out the slow season. Thinking about it, yeah.
So the nominees were Shadow of Mordor for Game of the Year at the Keeleys, Shadow of Mordor, Hearthstone, which we didn't talk about, but was a very big deal at the time. It sort of ushered in the modern age of card games,
online card games. Yeah,
lousy with Bayonetta 2, Dark Souls 2. Which we didn't mention. Not the best Dark Souls game, but
fair enough.
Best Dark Souls 2 game. And then the winner, aptly for the timing right now, is Dragon Age Inquisition.
Okay.
Does not feel like a great game of the year.
Well, okay. Here's my hot take. Dragon Age Inquisition, best Dragon Age game. Which isn't saying a lot, but it's the best of the bunch.
All right. I've got a tiny bit to add to this. Dragon Age Inquisition is the only Dragon Age game that I have 100%ed, and I cannot remember anything from it. I couldn't tell you a character's name, a location, or anything that happens in the plot. It was like a haze. It might be good.
I remember Solus and I remember Varric largely because those two appeared in Veilguard, which I've been playing recently.
Yeah.
But now that you say that, I actually don't remember a single party member of Inquisition besides those two.
Which can you remember anything that happens?
Right? I mean, it's a decade. Like, how many?
I remember there was a big apocalyptic thing in the sky, and it was our job to fix it. But that's
metaphorically every.
That's basically every Dragon Age game.
Yeah, but like, Last of Us came out a long, long time ago, and I remember most of the plot beats from that.
So one of the reasons I think
Do
2014 doesn't stick with me is because 2013 had a handful of games that felt monumental, and then it had the release of new consoles. It had the release of the PS4 and the Xbox One, which were exciting. Even
Well,
if their
the first
launch
year of
lineups
the first year of a console's always a shaky period.
I completely agree. But 2013 also had the games from the end of a console's life. So we had the Tomb Raider reboot, we had BioShock Infinite, we had The Last of Us, and we had Grand Theft Auto 5. Like
Asso Credo Black Flag.
Asso Credo Black Flag. You know what I played the first half of over the weekend? Rise Son of Rome. You know what game's kind of great? Rise Son of Rome.
Don't
Weird.
let Nick see.
I seem to remember that game being bloody awful now.
No, the verdict has changed. That's a real appraisal right there. Rise Son of Rome equals good ? I think that's true.
Damn.
This was the same game where it has quick time events in mid combat, and if you miss them, you win combat anyway.
You still win combat. You just win it with slightly less points.
This is the game we're talking about, yes?
Yeah, I didn't know Nero was in that game, and then Nero passed away, and it was very sad.
Yeah, it's like a plot that's like basically trying to sit at the interception point between fucking Gladiator, Rome, the TV series, and a fucking Spunguggle wee wee modern warfare shooter.
Still looks really good.
And this, again, sorry, just clarifying again, this is the game in which Boudica besieges the city of Rome on top of war elephants. Yes?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the game we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, just making it clear.
Yeah. So that's where my opinions are coming from. That's where I'm defending. But
Boudica, the Queen of England. Just clarifying that.
Did that not happen? There's really no way to know. We weren't around back then. We don't know what was going on. Yeah, 2014 also, I do agree, first year jitters. I think we saw that a lot in 2021 with that was similar, the first year of the new consoles, also pandemic, obviously. It was also, this was the writing was on the wall that the Wii U was a failure. By 2014, and we got a few good Wii U games.
Mario Kart 8 came out in 2014.
Got Mario Kart 8, which is probably, if you also count the Switch port, is probably, I mean, that's easily the best-selling game of this year. If you put it all together, the game with the biggest legacy.
That was the last Mario Kart, wasn't it?
Yeah, because Mario Kart 8.
Yeah, they haven't.
The Switch one is just that deluxe, which they've like doubled the amount of tracks and characters and stuff. But
all the DLC. It's a lot of content.
Yeah. The indie space was also still finding its sea legs. I feel like there were a couple standouts, but not to the point where it feels like now you just can't keep up with games, right? Because every week it seems like there's an indie game that's either worth playing because it's interesting or worth playing because it's getting universally praised.
I didn't have a huge number of indie games on my review list. Shovel Knight, Transistor.
Yeah, those were two big ones. Monument Valley, which I'm not sure if you reviewed or not, but in terms of indies, like those are the ones that stick out to me. We were also still in the midst of certain series doing their episodic thing. This was some of Telltale's Wolf Among Us this year.
They were still trying to see if that would work.
Yeah. Spoilers, it did not.
No.
Yeah.
This was about 6 years after Half-Life 2 Episode 2. Still waiting on Half-Life 2 Episode 3, Valve.
It's coming. Don't worry. I guess the fact that Destiny came out this year is big in a bad way, I would say. Because the success of Destiny and then Destiny 2 is what caused that sharp pivot for everyone being like, we need a forever game. Make something
live
like
service. Yes, absolutely grim.
Yeah, we're still seeing the ramifications of, like, we're still seeing Suicide Squad kill the Justice League, as sacrificial lambs for that.
I think in recent times, there is a tangible sense that everyone's down on the live service now, and there is a feeling that we're going into another period, much like 2014, in which people try new things, new single-player concepts, and try to see what shit's going to stick on the wall next.
Yeah. Yeah, we
So in many
also
ways, things that haven't gotten worse or better, we've just gone around the cycle again.
yeah, I guess we're like you could do this
Funny that.
podcast for any 10 years and you could chart the
I
same
know.
ebb and flow.
History runs in cycles. Boy, 2014 was just 2 years before the 2016 presidential elections, wasn't it?
Fuck.
Cycles.
The where I think we're moving now is we're gonna get to weird remake realm. I feel like Resi, as I think they're amazing, right? And now with Silent Hill 2, which is also really good. We're going to see a lot of narrative-driven games from the PS2 era just being remade. And
Yeah, it's the usual nostalgia wave. 25 years, and then everything gets remade. And we are smacking the prime. We're smacking prime PS2, maybe early PS3 era nostalgia wave. So look out for that. Look out for more for like third-person shooters, much as Gears of War pioneered back in the day. Space Marine 2 sort of set the ball rolling on that, I think.
If that means we get more games like Slitterhead, which feel like they were made in 2008 and
Spoiler!
in a vault for 15 years, then that's
I haven't started that yet.
You are not. First off, I don't spoil things. Second off, you are not allowed. You are the king of spoiling things. You're not allowed to be worried about spoilers.
No, I'm not. I'm like the Riddler of spoilers. I only spoil things for stupid people.
Oh no!
Smart people could already predict the twists that I spoil.
Okay, random tangent. I replayed Batman Arkham Asylum. You know what I hate? The fact that the Riddler does all these puzzles, and when you solve some of them, he's really condescending to you. He's really like, "Oh, wow, you wasted your time solving that one, Batman." I'm like, "You made this, motherfucker.
You set this up, bitch."
Yeah.
I've always felt like the Riddler in the Arkham's verse, which I think is possibly just the way the character's written and not like a failure of the writing, is just he's really inconsistent over whether he wants you to solve his riddles or not.
Yeah, he's kind of like negging you as you do it.
Yeah, because if you take ages to solve like the tutorial riddle in Arkham City, he starts getting flustered and just gives you the answer. It says, "It's the organ, all right? That thing over there. For Christ's sake, Batman."
We just got to move on. I'm sorry, Batman. Riddler, great man. We glossed over it when mentioning things. What did you guys think about the South Park game, Stick of Truth?
I liked it. I think it was it really reflects the fact that the original creators were very hands-on with it. It's got a fun interest. It really reflects that the creators have a respect for video game design and we're just like knocking something out as a knockoff. There's plenty of like video game references in South Park the show as well. If you go through it, they did a whole like Guitar Hero episode, a whole World of Warcraft episode.
World of Warcraft episode, very famously. Yeah,
I think the Stick of Truth is still the best of the South Park RPGs. Certainly, it's better than Fractured But Whole, and it's 100% better than Snow Day.
Yeah. I think it also came at a good time to where lampooning fantasy stuff didn't feel. I feel like if you do that now, it just feels like we've been so inundated with fantasy that you'd almost roll your eyes. Whereas, this was a year before The Witcher 3. This was early-ish in the Game of Thrones run. Like, this was before kind of fantasy took like a big seat at the table. Whereas I think part of Fractured But Whole is that it was lampooning superhero shit, which like we were just inundated with. Like I was just kind of sick of superhero shit by then. And
it was also, as I said in my review, a little more reliant on having prior knowledge of stuff that had happened in the TV show. Whereas Stick of Truth had a lot more universal as a fantasy lampooning.
Yeah, I agree with that there. And then we mentioned Ubisoft as a company, obviously, and they published Stick of Truth, but Obsidian developed it. And then Ubisoft had Watch Dogs, it had Far Cry 4, and it had AC Unity at the time, which I would argue AC Unity, part of the huge dog pile on it was the fact that it came at the beginning of consoles to where you could hit a button and share your gameplay and share your screens and share a glitch that might occur. And so a glitch went viral and everyone was like, this game is broken, as opposed to rationally being like, that's funny. Glitches don't occur for everyone.
It was buggy as hell. It was sort of in the era when Assassin's Creed was sort of feeling a bit hacked out. It was they basically they had this model that they started with Assassin's Creed 2. It was sort of a magic school bus exploration of a historical period. You're the main character. You are best friends with someone famous from that time period. Someone is the Leonardo da Vinci.
Mm-hmm.
And you meet lots of other people from the time period and go, oh, look, kids, it's famous person from history. How can we help you, famous person from history? And that was kind of lame. I think it was at its worst in Syndicate. They kind of dropped it a bit from the Assassin's Creed going forward when it turned more into sort of action RPGs. I think Unity... you said Unity and Syndicate were better than people give them credit for. I'm only partially with you on that. I think Unity actually has a pretty good plot, looking back on it. I think Syndicate's is dog shit.
I think Syndicate's plot is pretty bad. I like Jacob and Evie. I think that like they are interesting main characters.
I think it really felt sort of obviously a sort of overcorrection in response to the backlash against Unity, where everyone complained you couldn't play a female character in the multiplayer mode, which was a sort of overlooking the fact that the multiplayer mode was intended to be seamless, so every player in it was the main character of the game, essentially. Yeah. But, you know.
Notre Dame Cathedral was cool.
Which is the English one and which is the French one?
Syndicate is the latter one. Syndicate is the one in London.
Okay.
Unity is the one in Paris set in the French Revolution. I mean, I said when Assassin's Creed 3 came out, there were 2 revolutions that happened in this period of history, and you picked the boring one, mate. The French Revolution would have been a much more interesting and fitting setting for an Assassin's Creed themes, but by the time they got around to it, the genie was out of the bottle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you could do you could try and stop an execution. That would be a fun mission.
Yeah, I think what made the setting of Unity work for me pretty well is that it really sort of put a question mark over whether the assassins were the unequivocal good guys and the Templars were the unequivocal bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Because of course the whole star-crossed lovers plot allows us to see both sides of the equation. Yeah. Because your main love interest is a Templar, and the main character doesn't feel that invested in the assassin's doctrine. He's just sort of been grandfathered in.
Would you recommend going and playing them? Because I haven't played a single Assassin's Creed after Black Flag. I haven't touched them. So,
I'd say it's worth a look. I'm not sure it's worth 100%ing. It's definitely sort of going through the motions. But every Assassin's Creed after that, it's just the assassins are the goodies and the Templars are the baddies, and never the twain shall meet.
I think Unity also had the culmination of urban parkour. I think it was the best feeling urban parkour that the series has kind of gotten away from because so much of it takes place, before there were. Really
I've heard other videos to that effect that Unity was where the parkour was sort of perfected. And Syndicate, they kind of fucked it up because they gave you a grappling hook. And then it was like, oh, you don't have to engage with the core gameplay of the series anymore.
Wait, it's like the rule that grappling hooks make a game better?
I guess so, yeah. Because the core gameplay of Assassin's Creed was climbing stuff, and when you don't have to, then it's like using the warp whistle in Mario. You're just cheating yourself out of fun.
Damn. Scrabble, that will be improved with a grapple hook, though.
Where you can grapple letters from across the house.
Yeah. Just steal other people's letters if you suspect
letters off the fridge.
Yeah, if you skill shot it, you can take one.
Well, I've got 7 fucking vowels, so they must have a consonant. Whoosh. Q. Yeah.
It was some of the other games you mentioned earlier. Dark Souls 2 is an interesting one because this felt like it was. We weren't sure what FromSoft was yet, right? Yeah. We had Demon Souls, Dark Souls blew things up in 2001, and then we had Dark Souls 2, which was not as warmly received as Dark Souls 1. Yeah. But I think there may have been some thought that, is this, they're just going to kind of make this thing over and over again.
People were very down on 2.
Yeah.
But I will say this for it. It doesn't feel exactly like Dark Souls 1.
No.
It feels like its own thing.
Yeah.
Whereas in contrast, Dark Souls 3, in a lot of points, feels a lot more like Dark Souls 1 again.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Well, for me, 2 feels like it was made by another team. Well, this is exactly what happened.
It was
Another team trying to emulate Dark Souls 1 and not quite touching exactly what was needed to be done, but still good in its own right. I think it's, even though it's the worst of the series, I do think it's still a good game.
Yeah, well, I think also maybe one of the reasons that it got dinged was shortly afterwards. At the beginning of 2015, we got Bloodborne, and granted that was a PS4 only game, but it feels like that was universally loved, right? That was like, shit, no, this studio is going to be here to stay. And then obviously we would get Dark Souls 3, and we would get Elden Ring and everything that came afterwards, Sekiro.
Yes, and still exclusively to PS4, I guess, because Sony hate free money.
I think
there's always scuttlebutt that they may have lost the source code.
I think
apparently they famously did that with Silent Hill 2 as well.
Yeah.
Well, it's the I believe, and I could be wrong, but I think the physics of the game are tied to frame rate, and if you futz with the frame rate, which PC does a lot, it just breaks the game completely. I think it's.
I know. Wouldn't that be worth investing the time and energy and money into figuring out, and then just putting the game everywhere and making a shit ton of money off it?
You'd think, like, whether you release it today or you release it in the next 2 years, it's going to make the same gigaton amount of money. Yeah. So just do it. Just rebuild it.
Yeah, I mean, they did the Demon's Souls remake, which was basically a ground-up rebuilding. Why not do that with Bloodborne?
Even just a port, right? Like just a port to PC. Like Red Dead just got its port after 12 years or whatever.
It's crazy how long it took Red Dead to come to
I know, it's my second favorite game of all time. I'm so happy.
Yeah. My first thought was there was never a Red Dead port to PC. I kind of assumed there must have been at some point. I played GTA 4 on PC.
Yeah, GTA 5 got its port to PC because I was playing it exclusively on PlayStation, and I remember being really happy because I really liked playing GTA Online. But I was like, where is Red Dead, like, for PC? Because I transitioned to being a PC gamer, and I was really upset, and I'd forgotten about it for a decade. And now I'm just like, oh, it's here. Thanks. Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Speaking of Rockstar, one of the things I would mark in the bad for us column of 2014 is that this was the launch of GTA Online, which is, if you're a fan of GTA Online, great. If you are a fan of single player Rockstar games, this is why it's taking a very long time to get single player Rockstar games.
Because it makes
GTA
so much money.
Online is like, there's that whole timeline where it shows that Rockstar basically had a game a year up until GTA Online, and then it's like one every 6 years if you're lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, who remembers that Red Dead Redemption was itself a sequel to Red Dead Revolver?
It was. I haven't played Revolver. I need to do that.
Nobody, that's who.
Where's the Revolver port?
Yeah, it was Revolver. Remember, did you ever play Gun?
I remember there's a game called. I know there's a game called Gun. Oh, I don't remember playing it.
It was, I believe, developed by Neversoft, like the Tony Hawk. And it released like, I think I played it on the 360. A pretty since we just don't get a lot of Western games, like a pretty good second place Western game.
Okay,
more arcadey, less open world than.
I mean, I guess I just like that there's a game called Gun. There's another game called Blood, and there's another shooter called Gore. So I think all we need is a game called Tits, and then you could have a pretty interesting themed afternoon.
That sounds wonderful.
Gun, Blood, Gore, and Tits.
Yeah. Gun was good. Gun equal good.
It's on Steam, by the way. You can play Gun on Steam.
It also had a really good, I don't remember how good its voice cast was. Thomas Jane, Lance Hendrickson, Chris Christopherson, Brad Dorff, Ron Perlman, Tom Skerritt.
Bloody hell.
Well, now we know where the
80s and 90s dudes.
Well, now we know where the budget went.
Went to the gunman.
That feels like, you remember how when Dishonored had a bunch of Hollywood voice actors and none of them were actually professional voice actors, they were just actors, and so the voice acting was just kind of shit.
Yeah.
And the game had absolutely no benefit from all these big name actors in it.
Yeah. I'm glad they've stopped doing that. Was Kojima, please stop.
True Crime Streets of LA. There was one game that had like a crazy voice cast. I remember like Emma Stone was in it. I don't think it was True Crime Streets of LA. Well, True Crime Streets of LA had Christopher Walken, Gary Oldman, Michelle Rodriguez, Michael Madsen, Ron Perlman. Ron Perlman will do anything. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh yeah, Ron Perlman doesn't know how to say no to people.
Shout out to folks who will do anything.
Ron Perlman's a yes man. He just says yes to everything.
Did you know when Ron Perlman was in City of Lost Children, which was a French language film, he didn't learn French to do the part. He just learned all his lines phonetically.
Incredible. That's great.
What a legend.
Which is fine, and it must have worked because he ended up being in Alien 4, who was directed by the same dude.
Alien Resurrection, directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet. Yes.
Yeah. So,
weird choice of director for an Alien film. Yeah. I guess they were going with whatever at that point.
David Fincher did 3, also a weird choice, but anything's fine.
There's also a game.
Sleeping Dogs was the Emma Stone game, by the way. Sleeping Dogs. Sleepy Dogs?
I played Sleepy Dogs. Sleepy Dogs, good things.
Yeah.
I remember it not just being so bad.
Yeah.
So, what was the point? The point was, has gaming been on an upward swing since that heady time of 2014? I would argue not really, but it's not really gone down either. We've really just been churning the handle.
Yeah, I'd say the indie space is so much stronger than it was then. Just when
there's certainly a lot of games in it.
Yeah, so maybe it's just by volume. There's more good games because there's also a shit ton more bad games. But if you're willing to either,
you could say that curation isn't as good.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree that curation isn't as good. I think, if you're looking at who's in a better place than they were then, Nintendo is the one that springs to mind. Obviously, financially, they're in a better place, but
no doubt,
yeah. I'm still a little bummed that when Microsoft revealed and released the Xbox One, they ended up going back on all of its weird eccentricities to kind of homogenize it with the PS4, because I think that ultimately kind of made for a boring generation where both boxes felt the same as opposed to.
Well, would you say the PS5 has improved upon the PS4 much? Because
it's backwards compatible with it, which is great, because the PS4 wasn't backwards compatible with the PS3, so that's one thing it has going for it.
It's a really good paperweight.
Very good paperweight, yeah. The PS5 is strange.
It's kind of impressive that the PS4 is still viable as a gaming platform, because 10 years, that's a long shelf life for a console.
Yes.
Yeah, Elden Ring came out for the PS4. It's crazy how big games are still coming out for the last generation.
I thought the 360 had a pretty long shelf life as a console. What was that? That was 2006?
That was 2005 to 2013. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Wii and the PS3 were 6. Yeah.
PS4's kind of beat that out.
Yeah. Are you excited for the PlayStation 5 Pro? Are you
no.
Pro?
What do I look like? Nick Calandra?
Even he was he bought it, and then even in the meeting today, he was like, I don't know, it doesn't really do anything for me. Exactly.
He has a powerful gaming PC. You don't need it.
Well, what if you want to play Astrobot and reminisce about all those games you can't play anymore?
Didn't they add a system for you to be able to view all the games that they reference?
I don't know. Did they? It seemed weird that they didn't have them. It seems weird they go through that whole game without identifying any of the games it's referencing. I figured that might have been a legal thing.
It would have been sick. You just play, if you unlocked a little bot, you could just play the game it was from.
That would be wild. It's an emulation,
literal game of the year.
Hub.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Game of forever.
Lara Croft's one of the bots in that game. Is Sony seriously allowed to have a character based on Lara Croft and say, "Hey, this is our character. That is ours."
You could just play.
They might not say that, but they certainly imply it.
Yeah. I don't know. So in conclusion, 2014, pretty good year.
Yeah.
He's
And,
come around. He's
No,
come
I
around.
didn't come around.
We just have to
I
discuss
think it is the weakest year of the last 10 years in my mind.
What's the strongest?
He's got you there.
2017 or 2020.
Okay.
2017 had this Switch launch. We got Breath of the Wild. We got Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. We got Mario Odyssey. We also had Persona 5, Wolfenstein, New Colossus, Nier Automata.
I still don't see how you think the new Colossus is better than the New Order.
Because it does what I like from shooter campaigns, which is exactly what Black Ops 6 does, which I don't think you like in shooter campaigns, which is throw shit at the wall and let every level feel different. I also feel like the story in 2 was better.
Dude, it is in the course of the New Order that we fight space Nazis on the moon. And everything in New Colossus is just like basically cribbing off something that was in the previous game.
Had a better story. Had a really good
I
acting.
mean, admittedly, you don't get to kill Hitler in the New Order.
Goaty.
But, you know, it's you kind of already did that in Wolfenstein 3D, didn't you?
That's true. You know what game I realized we didn't talk about from 2014? How did I not have this on my list? Ground Zeroes. We had our little taste of Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, you mean the Metal Gear Solid 5 demo.
Kojima delivering 2 banger teasers in 2014. One of which paid off and one of which didn't.
Just hacked a big chunk off of Metal Gear Solid 5 because it was taking too long to make and they had to throw something to the wolves.
Maybe that's why Konami fired him, because they just kept releasing teasers and he's just like, release a game.
Well, because 2014 was supposed to have some of the best games of 2015 in 2014. Like, we were supposed to have Metal Gear Solid 5, Witcher 3, and Arkham Knight all in 2015. And Bloodborne, actually, I think. Bloodborne was
Arkham Knight? Better than Arkham City?
No, not better than Arkham City. But I'll take another Arkham Knight any day of the week compared to whatever the hell they're doing there at Warner Brothers now.
Fair enough.
Which isn't saying much, but yeah.
All right, shall we super chat it up?
I bet there's some good ones. I think some weeks super chats are bad. I bet this week's, they're pretty good.
Apparently there's at least one good one.
This is the bit where we read out all your super chats and Patreon messages. So get those in if you want to hear me take the piss out of you. And always enjoying having the piss taken out of them, Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, alt title, do games still hold up after 10 years? New Order, fucking A.
I think good games do. I think it's harder for annual franchises or games that are trying to like constantly be at the cutting edge of technology, because that tends
Shadow of Mordor like holds up less well, but that was before, I got sick of the Ubisoft sandbox formula. Which Shadow of Mordor most certainly is.
Yeah. But I think if you look back, like you said, every year has some bangers that hold up, and every year has a lot of duds.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people would selectively. I think you take basically any year, and there's someone who would argue that it was the best year for gaming, just because it had the games they personally liked.
Like with music, people always say music was better back in the day, but that's because time only remembers the good stuff mainly.
Well, also,
we forget
when you're 12 to 17, that's when like it imprints on you, and so of course your favorite stuff is from when you were that age.
When everyone talks about how great movies were in the 80s because they brought us Ghostbusters and Back to the Future and the other one, and then you're like, that's like 3 films out of 10 years.
Remember the 100 other movies every year that were terrible?
Yes, there is a veritable mountain of shit from the 80s no one remembers.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Theo gets $5 and says, games are no longer for geeks and nerds. It's mainstream now. Yeah, gaming now has the potential to be better, but it no longer feels specialized.
I think indie games feel specialized.
Well, that ship sailed before 2014, I'd argue.
Yeah, way before.
Sony was always trying to marketing themselves as the hip gaming console for skateboard kids from the days of the PS1.
Mm-hmm.
And also, sports games have been around since the dawn of gaming and have been played by sports nerds.
I think in 2001 kicked down the doors to be like, this is for everyone now.
People, it's just nerds, right? Like sports people are just nerds for sport.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I do agree that we bemoan that AAA games feel very designed by committee. The budgets are so big that it needs to appeal to the largest audience. But that's what the indie space is for. I feel like the indie space is where you get those more kind of bespoke, where you could feel an authorial thumbprint on it.
Dr. Theo gives $5. It says, podcast idea. If you could, what game would you make? Skill, time, resources are not factors. What is your big dream game that will probably never happen? Say, I've asked myself that several times over the years and had different answers as time has progressed. That one time I really wanted to make like a big budget steampunk open-ended RPG, and at other times I wanted to make like a open world superhero sandbox, maybe based on being a supervillain or based on like my book Jam, where you can't touch the floor. But these days, when I think about it, I don't really want to make a AAA game. I don't really want to add to that pile of guff. I want to make small, interesting, innovative indie titles. I mean, it'd be nice, to have someone do all the art for me and someone else to do all the music for me, but that's kind of the situation I'm in anyway.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
I do like that idea for a larger discussion, though, of like kind of sketching out ideas for like if time and money and resources were not a factor.
Our perfect
what's
game.
Pie in the sky game that we would want to see done. Yeah, maybe that's a back pocket one for the future. There you go.
Alex Armstrong gives another $5 and says, do you feel we need more limitations to get back that feel of innovation and outside the box thinking? Or are AAA game devs just lacking in original ideas? I think I've said quite recently in Semi-Emblematic that it does feel like a lack of limitations has sort of led to a counterintuitively led to a sort of creative stagnation, because without parameters, things just sort of get homogenous, sort of grouped together in the middle of the big, vast, empty plane.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you want like people with limitations, hey, play indie games. There's a lot of people with not a whole lot of money, manpower at their hands, trying to do the best they can, and occasionally making shit like Balatro and Celeste and shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the main problems with it in AAA, but it also trickles down into indie as well, is just risk. Like, you can try and make something be that wholly original with the narrative or mechanically, but then it could just bomb. And for a lot of companies, they are one failure away from shutting down. Yeah. So they need to just make what has been proven to sell. And also, we're fucking buying it. Like, we're buying the same stuff over and over. So, like, if you want to see more original stuff, stop buying the same shit.
Yeah.
Well,
it's also
smaller budgets. Break up the $100 million projects into like 20 small projects. That's what they should be doing.
Same way with movies too. Instead of spending $300 million on a fucking Captain America movie where he fights Harrison Ford's Red Hulk, you could make $45 million movies. Which would be Incredibles. And yeah, this might be a semantics thing, but I don't think developers are lacking creative ideas whatsoever. I think developers in AAA studios, the developers of the worst AAA, the developers on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League have a million incredible ideas better than Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, but it is the money hats that end up telling you what to do, and you have to do it. So
couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Fungus Finder gives $2. It says, don't worry, stuff gets better over a 50-year average. That's like half a person's life, Fungus Finder. I want things to get better now.
But also, games from 50... I don't want to play some games from the 70s. What are we doing? I don't want to play those games. Fucking Pong out of here.
Yeah, that would have been it, wouldn't it? That and fucking tennis for two.
Not doing that.
Yahtzee will wear a green hat in 5 weeks. Gives €2 and says, Marty, do you still know what a true Scotsman is?
It's a logical fallacy.
It's more an argumentative fallacy, but
an argumentative fallacy that tries to say you can only be a part of a group if you blank.
Yes,
or you are not part of a group.
It's not a true argumentative fallacy, though, is it?
Oh, I'm seeing what you're doing there.
Did you do that on purpose?
Yes.
Fuck.
Okay.
I am the true Scotsman.
Yes. Well, Pete Ski gives $5. Says Yahtzee and Jermaine mentioned Bottom a while back. Were you also Young Ones fans? I always liked Young Ones way more. Of course, Pete Ski. I think Young Ones was definitely the more juvenile thing, but it was certainly a lot more madcap.
Which is crazy to compare, say it's juvenile compared to Bottom.
I think Bottom has some pretty deep philosophy and like quite a deep core character dynamic behind it. Admittedly, it does still have a lot of fart jokes and people smacking themselves in the face with frying pans. But there's a reason why Rick and Aid came up with it after they did Waiting for Godot together.
I've not seen Waiting for Godot.
Well, it's fucking highbrow shit, is what it is.
Damn, I'm looking that up.
It's a famous play by Tom Stoppard about two people waiting for someone who never shows up.
And is God, oh God? Who knows? I literally feel like every week for 90 minutes, I slip into an alternate dimension where this shit exists that doesn't exist every other hour of every other day of my life. It is like fucking surreal every time you're talking about, the Bottoms and Young Ones. It's just, sounds made up.
It's just you being an American and having zero curiosity for the rest of the world, like most Americans. It's nothing to be ashamed of.
Let me tell you, sumimasen, my friend. The Japanese. What a culture.
Hey,
no, I don't need to watch this shit. Japanese. I got other things to watch. I got Sliders to watch. You ever see Sliders? Show rules.
Actually, yes, I have. I did watch Sliders, actually. With fucking John Rhys Davis and fucking that dude who's not famous anymore who was in Scream 2.
Oh, yeah, Jerry McConnell. One of the McConnells.
That's the one. That's the one. I think I once made a joke in Zero Punctuation. You're probably too old if you know who Jerry McConnell is without having to look it up.
Oh, no.
Dr. Theo gives $5. Says, after thinking about it a bit, I think the quality is overall the same. Some things got worse, others got better. It's a change in culture. Cycles. As I say.
Yeah, but we still gotta have something to talk about.
Yeah. Which isn't the current political situation because it just makes us too depressed.
It was either talk about this or me just fucking ramble about Slitterhead.
I tell you what, if there is a federal abortion ban, it's back to England with me and the fam. I ain't raising my girls in that society.
That's completely fair. We're very fortunate, Yachts, that we have this option to go back to
Yes. I mean, things are still kind of shit after Brexit, but at least, free healthcare.
Apparently, the winds are changing on Brexit potentially as well. So
we'll see. Thank fucking Christ. Do you know the British Conservative Party just elected a black woman as leader, and no one batted a fucking eye? Because not every country is so fucking backward when it comes to race.
USA. America is very backwards. USA.
Okay, wait, we're meant to be talking. Read the next fucking super chat, Yacht. We're not meant to be talking about that.
Okay, sorry. I'm just have a lot of churning emotions at the moment.
Understandably.
Far less than too many frogs gives $2 and says Wolf the New Order was Acts 1 and 2. Wolf the New Colossus was Acts 3 and 4. Okay, still not as fun. Also, being new gains you more points in my book.
It is New Colossus. That's new. I think New Order has one of the strangest things where after the first mission you have to choose which of those two characters lives or dies, and it's like I don't know who these people are.
Yeah,
you should have had me make this choice later in the game when I know who these people are.
I respect that choice. I think it was an interesting exploration because it's about making you make the choice and then discovering after the fact who these characters were.
Mm-hmm.
And then having to live with your decision. There's like literally a scene where you get clobbered over the head with that, where the character who survives goes on like an angry rant at you about you making the wrong choice. I think it's astonishingly well written, Wolfenstein: The New Order, for a Wolfenstein game.
That's why I'm very excited for Indiana Jones. Same team.
I'm looking forward to that as well.
Do you think it's better or worse than the choice in Resident Evil 7 and we have to choose your wife?
I was just about to say that, Marty. I'm better because it's not pick between your wife or someone you've never met.
Well, in theory, I mean, the wife should only really have significance to Ethan as a character, and like the other character is someone who's been helping the player, whereas the wife is just a character who's been a burden on the player. So, you know.
I guess after 3 years, I'll look for my wife.
Yeah, Jess had a huge problem with that while we were playing.
Yeah. See, in Silent Hill 2, it makes sense because, you know, without wishing to spoil.
Yeah.
It's because of the spoiler. Fungus Finder gives $2 and says, I am frightened of the green hat person. Ominous. Yeah, like it'll just turn on the webcam and it'll just be my headless corpse with a green hat sitting on the stump.
Still reading off super chats though, very impressive.
It's kind of awkward for us because how we do these pods is we hop in about 10 minutes before. So are we just gonna like start the podcast 10 minutes before and there'll be a headless corpse just sitting there and we'll go? I guess we'll go live.
How does level sound?
I tell you, if in 5 weeks, I like forget about this person every time I'm not doing the podcast, but if in like 5 weeks' times I find some reason has been contrived that I, in my everyday life, have been found myself wearing a green hat, and then I start this podcast and that person comes on, it's going to be a very eerie moment for me, I tell you that.
Yes.
Like you walk into Omar's wedding and you just get handed a green hat.
As I said, well, that's just going to make me think, oh, Yahtzee will wear a green hat was Omar all along.
Omar, you can't be wasting money like that.
It's your wife. It's your wife, Yahtzee.
Okay. Squirtle Squad 420 gives $10 and says, a decade ago I had more free time to game, so I was able to try more games with more tolerance for bad ones. Now I have less time, so I make myself play the good ones. This skews me to say now is better.
That's an interesting point. Yeah.
That's what we call sample bias.
Mm-hmm.
And then Fox D gives $5 and says, this would be a different discussion if you waited 2 months. 2015 featured Witcher 3, Fallout 4, Undertale, and City Skylines. Golden year.
And even mentor Bloodborne. How could you?
And Bloodborne.
The Blooded Borns.
Don't people not like Fallout 4?
I don't like any of them from Bethesda.
I think it's a polarizer, but then so was Fallout 3.
Sure. Yeah, and I think even like Phantom Pain is one of those games where some people will be like, the best in the franchise, and other people will be like, you didn't finish it. They fired you before you could finish it.
Yeah. I never like finished Phantom Pain.
They didn't either.
It just went on too bloody long.
They also didn't, so you're in good company.
I mean, I sort of more appreciated the Metal Gear Solid format where you go through like a single environment and through a labyrinth of boss encounters and then wrap things up at the end.
That one mini open world level in Black Ops 6 where you have to go around and like blow up the missile launchers around Iraq.
That was dumb.
Bad Phantom Pain.
Yeah. Made me think of Helldivers 2, actually.
Oh.
But yeah, also Phantom Pain. Deconda, member for 8 months in the Green Gang, says, Thomas Benjamin Wild, this is shit, current mood.
Who's Thomas Benjamin Wild? Is that one of those men from the reality I keep slipping into once a week?
I don't know.
Thomas Benjamin Wild. He's a man with a beard and he's got a little guitar.
Okay.
Oh, it's him.
He's got a ukulele, aka a little guitar.
A uke?
Sounds like a slur.
That's what the New York Times crossword people keep calling it. I guess
really?
It's good. Because I guess every time now and again you need a 3-letter filler word, and sometimes that's the best you can come up with.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Easy crutch.
Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, don't forget Shovel Knight. That made your 5th best. Yeah, I mentioned it, Alex Armstrong. Probably after you sent that super chat.
Yeah, Shovel Knight's one that it's a weird one, much like Mario Kart 8, to where it's like there's been so much of that game over the decade that I forget.
I know.
Shovel Knight is better now than it was, way better now than it was in 2014.
Yeah.
It's got so much more stuff, and same thing with Mario Kart. But
it does feels like it's been a kind of a constant presence since then, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I just really want them to do their next things.
I mean, when I was writing up my Sonic X Shadow Generations review, which will be coming up this week, incidentally, I was frankly dumbfounded to learn that Sonic Generations came out in 2011. Because in my mind, I always think of that as one of the recent Sonics.
Oh, no, we spoke about this recently, didn't we? Because I mentioned that I remember getting Sonic Generations from Blockbuster.
Yeah, I remember you saying. I think that was in an internal meeting.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Did you review 2014 Sonic game, Sonic Boom: Rise of Lyric?
I did. It was bloody awful.
Which
But
one? They're all bad.
If you'd pressed me to think about it, I would have said Sonic Generations came out after that.
Yeah, time's weird.
Because I remember it was like followed up on in Sonic Forces, because like Sonic Generations, Sonic shows up in Sonic Forces for no particular reason. So I would have thought like Sonic Forces would have come out shortly afterwards, but no, I'm dodgy on my Sonic lore.
How dare you, Eric? Quick,
Oh God!
Teach him
come
about
educate
hogs.
us on Sonic lore.
Don't get him started. Sovereign gives €10 and says, not sure about this year, but 2023 had one of the best lineups of games I've ever seen, at least to me. Hi-Fi Rush, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Alan Wake 2, Lies of P, Dredge, Baldur's Gate 3, etc., and furthermore, etc.
Yeah, I thought last year was very good.
Very good, yeah.
Made a whole Zelda game.
Yeah. And that was also the year we all buggered off from The Escapist.
Yay! Here, everyone tune in
Yay.
on Saturday. This Saturday, all day stream. We got some prizes for you.
First year anniversary. Tell your friends, and then tell them to subscribe to the Patreon.
Yeah, fund our second year. More content.
Ooh.
Tell your moms or any local moms in your area.
Yeah, Marty's got to get
alien
laid
moms as
somehow.
well.
No, I don't want to get laid. I just want the moms to watch us. I want to make mom-centric content.
Don't take that quote out of context.
I want the moms.
Bookworm776 gives $5. Says, in early 2015, we got Pillars of Eternity, which helped set off the CRPG renaissance that led us to games like Baldur's Gate 3. Also, it's a great game. It's not really a renaissance if it's only one company making them all.
Well, there's also no Pillars of Eternity is a different company, right? Because they did Larian did Divinity: Original Sin, which I get the two of those confused all the time. They just seem like the same games.
Fucking CRPGs.
Yeah.
Like I got Sea of Stars confused with that other game that was also a Chrono Trigger copy paste.
Oh yeah, Chained Echoes.
Chained Echoes, that was it.
Yeah.
Like when we got the Sea of Stars code, I was like, have I already played that? Then I played it and I was like, oh, this is a different game entirely. What a muggins I am.
Pure muggins.
Yeah. Wes Leslie gives €10 and says, hi Yahtzee, I'm working on a podcast episode about why Lords of the Fallen 2014 is still the best Souls-like. Would you mind giving it a listen and maybe offering feedback? No worries if not. No. Can't be asked.
Great. Yeah, I haven't listened to a whole podcast a lot. I'm gonna be honest. I'm sure.
So Lords of the Fallen 2014?
The first
one?
Yeah, to say it's the best Souls, like, oh, that's insane. I didn't even read that part.
Yeah, that's like huffing a lot of copium. You might need help.
Yes, that's a fucking plasma take, that is. That's going to superheat any room it's in.
No, I kind of want to listen to this. No, I kind of want to listen to this podcast, if I'm going to be honest.
Oh,
that is actually a nuts take.
Yeah. Yeah, what's wrong with you? Where's Leslie? Besides the obvious. Alex Armstrong gives $2, says, hot take, Mario's exempt because he's always great. Mario has always felt like he lives a different world. I mean, he lives in a world where the platformer is still a viable and common genre.
Live in that world.
When everyone else tried to do 3D platformers and fucked up and died.
Mm-hmm. Mario lives in a world where instead of putting their music on Spotify, they release just an app you need to download for your phone to listen to Nintendo music.
Mario 64 is where the timeline split. That's where we went to the either the good or bad universe. I'm not sure which one we're in.
Yeah.
Bad universe, let's be fair.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Which universe does Bottom land on? Which strand are we on? Which one do we take Marty to?
That came out before Mario 64.
I know, but does Bottom still exist on the other timeline? Only Marty can tell us because apparently he lives there.
So which is the Berenstein Bears and which is the Berenstain Bears timeline? Is that the good or the bad one?
Which is the one with the Shaq Genie movie, or with the Sinbad Genie movie?
It's Sinbad, yeah.
Yeah, there is a Shaq Genie movie.
There is,
yes.
Which is confusing. Not in that timeline though. No Shaq Genie movie in that timeline.
Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, Transistor was 2014. Weren't you lukewarm about it? Yes, I seem to remember I was, because I think Supermassive Games only really found their golden egg with Hades, if you ask me. They were sort of encroaching upon it up to that point.
Bastion was really good for the time. It was a really standout indie, in my opinion.
I think all four of their games are really good. Like, I really like Transistor.
I think,
You like Pyre, don't you? I feel like we've talked Pyre.
I never really liked the gameplay side of Pyre. I liked a lot of the rest of it. There's writing, the whole concept of having to pick characters to save and in a certain way also kill.
Yeah.
It was a nice dilemma. I was not a fan. I'm not a fan of 3-on-3 basketball.
What about 3-on-3 religious basketball?
Yeah.
I'm kind of bummed they're making Hades 2. It makes sense because Hades 1 sold more than all of their other games.
I suppose, yeah, I kind of feel the same way I felt when Naughty Dog had Uncharted games that were on the PS4. Because before then, they'd only had like one franchise per console generation.
Yeah, yeah.
Crash Bandicoot, and then Jak and Daxter, and then Uncharted. And Last of Us was supposed to be their like PS4 franchise.
At the rate AAA games are going and how long they take, they just might not have a PS5 game.
There you go.
Have ports of all their old games.
Remaster of Last of Us.
Fox D gives $5 and says, Ron Perlman's not a yes man, Jermaine. That would be Dave Foley. Okay.
I believe that's a yes man joke.
Dave Foley?
Yeah, he's from Kids in the Hall.
Oh, okay. I thought it was like the lead man from the Foo Fighters, but that's Dave Grohl.
That's Dave Grohl.
Yeah.
All members of the Church of Dave, though.
Has this guy been in a lot of stuff?
There aren't many cool Daves in the world, are there? Dave is sort of the name I sort of instinctively want to pronounce the Birmingham accent because it sounds like the name of a
Dave.
Yeah, Dave. Hello, I'm Dave.
Hello, I'm Dave. I feel like Dave really gives me like dad energy. Like someone's called Dave, you're like.
No, Dave is like your dad's friend who never got married.
Yeah,
Uncle Dave. He's not an actual uncle.
Yeah. Uncle Dave is not actually your uncle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but help me out if you can think of any more cool Daves. Dave Grohl, that's the only one I can think of. Tsunami Dusha gives $20. Says nothing, as is his want.
Thanks, Tsunami
Thank you,
Dusha.
Tsunami Dusha.
Thanks for funding second win, Tsunami Dusha.
Yeah, I hope you manage to thoroughly douche yourself at some point, so you don't have to keep relying on the tsunami to do it.
Do you think global warming is good or bad for tsunami douching?
Well, for good, obviously. You just like stand on the beach and bend over.
And hope you don't die or like get turned inside out.
Do that once a fortnight. Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, remember 2014 is the year Sonic Boom bombed. In many ways, we learn a lot from failure.
Yeah.
Sonic Team learned not to just put bandages around everyone's hands, I guess.
What were do you keep a doc? I'm curious what your worst games of 2014 were.
Well, Sonic Boom was up there.
Sure.
I've noticed that Freddy's 1 and 2.
I'm looking
at
the
probably.
Worst games of this year was, this doesn't look good.
What was my bottom 5 of 2014? Someone look at it.
Thief? The remake of Thief?
Oh,
Thief.
God, yes, Thief. That was awful.
Oh, that was a bad one. Yeah, that was a really bad one, actually.
Top 5 games of 2014. Here we go. Okay.
Infamous Second Son.
Oh, yeah, that was pretty bad. My 5 worst were Sacred 3. Oh, yeah, that was bad. Final Fantasy Lightning Returns.
No!
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Forgot that.
Sonic Boom. And Thief, of course. My bests were, because this was before I started doing blandists, my best were Shovel Knight, Dark Souls 2, Alien Isolation, Wolfenstein The New Order, and Shadow of Mordor.
Yeah.
Solid.
Top picks, mate.
Yeah, in retrospect, I'd shuffle those around a bit. I'll stand by the worst list, though. Fucking Lightning Returns.
I like Lightning Returns. Gotta save the world. Time travel.
I just have a knee-jerk hatred when Final Fantasy does the thing where they have the sequel where that's just the original number with another 2 on the end. That's not how
Yeah.
numbers work.
10-2, 13-2.
That's like setting up the fucking Final Fantasy Dewey Decimal System.
Yeah, why
That might have
didn't
been
we
the
get
name of a
like
Final Fantasy fighting game? Final Fantasy Dewey Decimal System.
There you go. I'm not on board.
Dewey Decimal?
King Dead 42 gives $2 and says 2024 has better super chats than 2014. Yeah, probably.
I don't know if Super Chats existed in 2014.
Because we love you all so much more than we love
Oh.
those shits who used to watch us in 2014.
Oh, I think you're great.
That was before I left Australia 2014.
Mm.
So I wouldn't have been streaming at all.
When did you leave the Australia?
2016. That
2016.
was when
Okay.
I moved. Yes, just in time for the shit period to start.
Damn.
Alexander Medeiros gives $4.99 and says, if you were put in charge of Ubisoft, how do you fix and correct their trajectory with the IPs they control? Kill them all. Shoot them all like that scene in Fierce Creatures where John Cleese makes a little graveyard of little animals and just buries them all in his back garden. And then like take all those 100 million budgets and divvy them up among like 50 different projects. Make our own UFO 50, but call it Ubifo 50.
I kind of like taking the
50.
1,500 people that work on Assassin's Creed and be like, no, you're now in teams of 20. Make 100 different games.
Yes, you all make 100 different games. At the end of the day, the team that made the worst game gets killed.
We would get some of the best games ever made if they did that. Like everyone who works there is so unbelievably talented.
Yeah. You
This
get
is so good that 20 people are dead.
Yes. You get killed and your ground up and flesh is fed to the rest of the teams.
You're fed on past devs.
It'd be
Yeah,
like
but then you get imbued with their power. You become stronger until we get one final team that's going to create the best game ever made.
It'd be like Darkseid's origin story. No, not Darkseid. The dude who killed Superman. That guy's origin story where he was just like the last living thing. The last living thing on a hell world that killed everything else.
Grim. What are they called?
R.I.P. Superman.
You know, the guy who killed Superman famously.
Doomsday.
Doomsday. Thank you. That was his origin. He was just the last thing that survived like a huge hell war.
He was like a rock-looking dude. Like, kind of a weird-looking thing to kill Superman.
He is a weird-looking... It's kind of a shit design, I'm going to say it. It's a shit-looking thing.
Well, he had to be killed by a monster because he's fucking Superman. What else was going to do it?
That's true.
A rock? A fucking glowing rock?
See, does that kill him or does that just take his powers away? Because I've heard conflicting stories on that.
Kryptonite?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's no way to know.
It either kills him or it just makes him a regular man, in which case he can be easily killed with a gun to the head.
Yeah, it seems like he's worse. It seems like when he gets it, though, he's like crippled. He's not like a regular man. He's like, I can't do anything. He's not just like, oh, dang, I can't fly anymore.
Okay. So it does kill him.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, moot point, because who the fuck's got a pile of green space rock from a dead planet kicking around the house?
Well, I'm glad you asked. No, I don't have any. It'd be good if I could pull one out, though. A piece of the aggro crag.
Fox D gives $5 and says, originality dies on the altar of money is limited and I like what I like. Just bought Sengoku Dynasty because it's in a series I like, for example. I suppose, yeah. If more people had more money, they'd be more inclined to try things they've never tried before.
I think money and time, Mike, right? We gravitate towards the safe things. Comfort food.
Yes. The economy trickles down on all the world and all of culture. Have I ever told you about my theory that dragons are depicted in fiction in the way they're depicted is sort of defined by the status of the global economy? So if there's a time of a global economic boom, then dragons are like friends to humanity. But if there's like a economic slump, then they're big hoarding bastards.
Oh, I like
Scrooge McDuck.
Okay, I do like that.
Gotcha.
Craig Smith gives $2 and says Yahtzee needs to collab with Matt McMuscles one day. Okay, I'm only vaguely aware of who that is.
Do you think he's got big muscles?
I have no idea.
And then Craig Smith gives $2 and says, and continues the thought, saying, for a what happened ? On Modern Warfare 3 2023. Oh, he does those What Happened videos, does he?
Oh,
Yes,
I
I've
know
seen
those
those.
thumbnails.
Yes.
I think I've watched some of his videos.
What happened? People made a shit game. Why do we need to bang on about it?
Because it was 10,000 teams
Also,
making a game as a company was being sold to Microsoft.
Also, if you'll recall, I never played Modern Warfare 3 2023 and felt my life was more positive for it.
I do not recall. Did you not play it because of the timing of Second Wind? Or did you just not play it because you didn't play
I just couldn't be asked. I guess there were other things to review. Yahtzee will wear a green hat in 4 weeks. Hang on, you were 5 weeks earlier. Did you forget to update your name before you joined the stream? Yahtzee will wear a green hat in weeks. Anyway, they gave €2 and says, how long is long enough for nostalgia to influence? I think part of it's like, wait 20 years. And the other part is that it has to have gone away for that 20 years. Because you can't have nostalgia for something that's never gone away, in my view.
Yeah, or aspects of a thing. Like, you could be nostalgic for what Assassin's Creed used to be as opposed to what it is now, even though Assassin's Creed's never went away. But like,
yeah, lots of people are nostalgic about like Final Fantasy, but that shit hasn't stopped.
Yeah,
like,
but it has
all.
like changed very much over.
And there's like they're like snapshots of very specific either
Eras.
worlds or gameplay mechanics or and stuff like that. Eras, yeah, that's the better way of putting it.
Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, favorite melee weapon in gaming? Mine's Painkiller. I don't know if that counts, because you can use it as a ranged weapon.
Yeah, isn't that the thing, like the stake that you stick on the walls?
It's a weird thing. It's like a melee weapon that you can hold it and turn it into like a weed whacker, like the lawnmower in Brain Dead. Or you can fire the end off and it turns into like a sort of laser if you point out wherever you shot it at. It's weird.
Yeah. I like the whip in Castlevania because I think whips.
You motherfucker!
Were you gonna say whip?
I was just, but specifically from the Lords of Shadow, like the cross whip.
Oh, that's a cool
from
one.
Lords of Shadow that like extends with the chain. I think it's metal as fuck. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Best melee weapon.
Do you like the chains of chaos or whatever the fuck they're called? The blades of chaos?
Blades of chaos.
At a certain point, where is the point that a ranged weapon becomes a melee weapon and vice versa?
That's a good point.
If you throw, something,
right?
But a boomerang's not a melee weapon, is it?
Because it leaves your hand. The chain's technically still a part of your hand, but
technically,
but the weapon, it's the blade that's the weapon part, not the chain.
Sure.
The crowbar in Half-Life.
Okay.
Susiguru 2000. Yeah. Susiguru 2000 gives €5 and says, Jerry O'Connell also voices Commander Ransom in Lower Decks. Well, that's the path, isn't it? Can't hack it as a leading person on screen anymore. Pivot to voice acting. The Mark Hamill gambit.
Yeah.
Facts.
Catherine Voights gives $20 and says, thank you for the abortion statement. It's appreciated. Well, fucking elect someone who will, enshrine it in the Constitution then, if you like abortion so much. You must do your part to prevent me leaving this country. It's on you. I can't vote.
I voted twice. No, I said I voted 3 times. One for each of you guys.
Yeah, I just got it. It's like Yahtzee came in when he first got in, and now I've come in when he's got in again. It's just, maybe we're bringing the bad. Maybe it's us.
There you go. Well, yeah, we're probably going to be part of the mass deportations.
Bye.
Or possibly not, because we're white.
Yep, I think that's...
Bookworm776 gives $5 and says, my dad knew someone who saw Waiting for Godot where the actors left the stage at the end, so he stood up and yelled, get the hell back on the stage. Oh wow, they must have loved him. They must have said, oh, what a jolly jape, Mr. Audience Member. Kudos to you. You certainly haven't ruined our evening.
And his name was Gato.
In fact, why don't you come on stage and do the play yourself, you fucking twat.
Tell us how you really feel.
I just think hecklers are the scum of the earth. They're trying, damn it. I mean, if it's a really bad stand-up, then sure. That's kind of what they let themselves in for.
Mhm.
But hecklers are like plays. I wish they'd shut the fuck up.
There you go.
Sovereign gives. I mean, I was at like a pantomime once when I was a kid, and one of the, hey, here we go. Let's do a list of British references Marty won't get. I was at a pantomime where one of the actors was Gabby Roslin, who used to be on The Big Breakfast, and the dude sitting next to me kept yelling, "Spot the sausage!" And I wanted him to die.
You should have killed him.
It happened. I slipped into that universe again.
There you go. Yeah, the alternative
You're at a
world where things-
pantomime? What is that genre? What's a pantomime?
You don't
Oh,
have
it's
pantomime shit?
impressions? I know what pantomime
they
is,
don't.
but I don't know
This
what
is
a pantomime is.
This is a British tradition, Jermaine. They don't.
I didn't know it was a British tradition.
They don't do Christmas pantomimes in the US.
Ooh,
they do.
Okay.
They do family dinners where everyone wants to kill each other.
Damn. Are you going to explain what a pantomime is to Mai, or shall I?
I'm gonna forget by next week if
How could one explain a pantomime in a short, easy to understand?
It's a play. It's a play usually centered around children celebrating like beloved characters, be that like Aladdin or whatever, and it usually has a lot of back and forth between the actors and the audience, mainly like call and response. There's like, what's the famous one? It's like, where are they? And the audience say, they're behind you.
Behind you. Or like a character goes, oh, no, it isn't. And then the entire audience goes, oh, yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Sounds terrible.
And traditionally, you have like a famous actor from like British television there. And famously, they're usually dressed as a lady.
They're in drag, basically.
Playing the classic pantomime dame.
Yeah.
And
England's a cult.
And there's usually people in silly animal costumes, and at the end there's a big sing-along.
Yeah.
As I said, it's hard to summarize.
They're good fun. Especially for kids. It's good fun.
If you're a teenager, they're fucking excruciating. But for kids and parents of kids,
And parents,
it's fun for all the family.
What?
Just there we go. Eric's found a picture of one.
Oh my god.
Yeah, sure enough.
Sorry, I lost the super chats again. The window keeps like running out of memory and going black on me.
Yeah, it does. It's doing the same thing to me too.
It never used to do that.
No.
Maybe I should switch to Firefox after all. Sovereign gives €5 and says the funny thing about the RE7 choice is if you choose Zoe, they both die, and you get the non-canon bad ending. If you choose Mia, they both survive. Well, okay, so I guess there's like a.
It's like doubly a bad choice.
Yeah, there's a right choice and a wrong choice. It seems.
Yeah, which it feels like there shouldn't be. Like you should be able to be like, oh, this was a heavy choice, but I have to live with the consequences.
Well, it wasn't really heavy. I mean, my first instinct was to save my wife. Because that's who I was there for, and I suspect that would have been the same for most people.
Mm-hmm.
My wife.
Hjorth87 gives 50 Danish kroner and says, "Move to Denmark. All speak English, and you can kick the Danish game dev scene into gear. We are way behind Sweden and Finland, plus universal education." Yeah.
What big devs are in Denmark? Game
I don't know.
Devs in Denmark.
Perhaps they're saying that there isn't any, so we can kick them into line.
Yeah. But IO Interactive's the big one in Denmark, and Playdead inside.
There you go. Vince Trousers gives to Canadian and says, "Yahtzee, do you have a favorite episode of Columbo?" Oh, well, yes, I have one favorite episode of Columbo. It's every episode of Columbo, which is every episode being the same.
The one where at the end of it, he says, "Oh, and just one more thing," and then he kind of like wrinkles his brow and then fucking solves.
If you were to like twist my arm, maybe the one with Donald Pleasance, where he plays a wine merchant.
Yeah, Donald Pleasance is great.
He's always a joy.
I like the one where he's chasing a bad guy and he takes his glass eye out and he throws it like a ball and they slip up and that's how he wins. That's a good
That
one.
never happened.
Oh, it did on this timeline
It happened
where
at a
Mario
pantomime.
64 doesn't exist.
You're thinking of a pantomime.
Oh yeah,
A pantomime you went to when you were a kid.
just one more thing, says the audience.
I remember hearing someone was like, I was listening to someone say that they once had a huge argument with a friend over whether Columbo had a glass eye. They conceded Peter Falk had a glass eye, but the argument was, did Columbo have a glass eye, or was his glass eye playing the role of a real eye?
Wait, did he actually use it in that one episode? Or did you make that up?
No, I made that up.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I don't remember every episode. Seems like an easy way to. I didn't realize Peter Falk had a glass eye.
Well, why did you think he had that weird stare?
No. People got weird eyes.
Why do you think one of his eyes always looking in the wrong direction?
I don't know. Some people got that. Some people have
He
lazy
might have a
eyes.
lazy
One of my
eye.
best friends
Well,
got a lazy eye.
That's true, yes. In Peter Falk's case, he has a lazy eye because one of them's glass.
True. Cause and effect.
There you go. Sussygiro 2000 gives €5. It says Mario is a 1%er of a different kind, the life kind, perchance. I don't know what you're on about, Sussygiro 2000.
A life 1%er?
That went right over my head.
Yeah. I don't get it.
Sorry, none of us got your joke. It didn't work.
Enough.
We are heckling you at the open mic night that is.
No,
this
we're not
podcast.
allowed to do that.
Yeah, even Eric wasn't sure. That was the best he could come up with. The fucking Mario themed game of life. Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says, funny Sega keep pulling a Skyrim by delisting Sonic games for poor remakes. Shadow Generations and now their Genesis games by now before December 6th. I didn't realize they were delisting old versions of games. But hey, the new one comes with Shadow Generations. What are you complaining about?
Finally, the year of the shadow.
If you like. Geldon Yittich gives $5 and says, recently I was thinking Quest for Glory 2 was where games had peaked, but that's probably nostalgia and the challenge of iterating existing mechanics. Yeah, I don't think I'd come with you on that one, Geldon Yittich.
I do not think games peaked in 1990.
No, games did not peak in 1990.
No, 2001. Games peaked.
Quest for Glory 4, that on the other hand. Was there even a Quest for Glory 4? I don't even know.
I don't think I've ever played any of the Quest for Glory games.
No, it's a weird blind spot for me because I've played King's Quest 1 to 8.
So
I've played Space Quest 1 to 6. I've played all the Leisure Suit Larrys.
There was
there
were 5 of them.
I've even played some of the police quests, but I've never played the Quest for Glory games.
I've never even heard of them.
Oh, it's like a little quest you go on to try to gain some glory.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Also known as Heroes Quest, but I think they had to change the name because of Hero Quest, the board game.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've played lots of Hero Quest, the board game, but not...
Did you ever play Quest 64?
No.
Is that another timeline thing?
For Nintendo 64. Truly bad.
Anyway, looking at that Quest for Glory 4 footage, and they've blatantly just taken the sprite for Roger Wilco from Space Quest 4 and drawn a different character over it.
Bastards.
Good artists.
But anyway,
their own work.
There you go. Well, they've had to hack out a lot of shit at those Sierra because all their franchises had like 7 games apiece. Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, didn't Sunset Overdrive almost make your bottom 5? Yeah, it would have been number 6 if memory serves. I know Marty keeps defending it.
It just had a big HBD last week as well.
I have never played it because I thought the trailer was too cringe, so I decided to not buy it.
You're all the problem.
Yeah, well, imagine that cringe extending to the whole game.
I'm glad I said no. Just say no, kids.
Yes. If you want something that it was clearly trying to be, play Saints Row 4. That is what Sunset Overdrive was clearly trying to be and failed at being.
Bad take. It's so much better than any of the Saints Row games. Jesus Christ.
Eat my ass.
It is leagues better than any of the Saints Row games.
Well, I don't know how to proceed besides saying, no, it fucking isn't. Humane Shield gives $1.99 and says 2024 brings us Adventurers Nigh Red Dragon Inn. Sure does. I've seen like the art they've done for that.
Oh yeah, there's
Fucking
some weird
sweet.
deep cuts in there too. Like that is for like hardcore fans who can be like, wow, you made cards of all this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, clearly the Red Dragon Inn guys are hardcore fans of Adventurers Nigh.
Talented.
Lots of references.
Jeffrey Summerhays gives $5 and says, the Little Big Adventure remake is launching in a few days on Steam. Any thoughts? Get out of town. I had no idea they were remaking Little Big Adventure. Is it like full on or just a remaster? Because the original was like a very old school sort of 3D polygons over the top of a 2D rendered backdrop. Sort of isometric adventure game made by French developer Adeline Studios.
Hey, I
That's
honestly
weird.
hadn't heard anything about a new version.
Man, no one but me has played Little Big Adventure. I'm the
I know
only
of
one
it.
who remembers Little Big Adventure, apparently.
In the world.
It was hot shit in the 90s, I'll have you know.
It keeps the I only found the Switch page for it. It keeps the isometric view, but definitely all the arts up to
Yeah, look at that. Oh yeah, fully 3D.
Yeah.
That was the game that's one of the few games that actually causes you to lose health if you sprint into a wall.
Nice. I like
I've
that.
seen very few games that do that, but really, more games should, because it's only realistic. And then more games should offer convenient ways for you to kill yourself if you failed and want to go back to your last save.
Yeah.
Why not let us sprint into a wall and break our fucking necks?
The name Little Big Adventure, was that a reference to anything, or was Little Big Planet just a reference to Little Big Adventure, or is that like a Britishism?
No, I think a Little Big Adventure is entirely unrelated to anything, and Little Big Planet came up with the name independently to Little Big Adventure.
Yeah, but I think it's supposed to be at least like a verbal or a written callback, right?
I don't think so. It's just Little Big sort of scans well as a sort of quirky title.
Yeah, they don't seem connected or like to be referencing.
I don't think
each
they're
other,
connected
which
at all.
is
I
great.
just wondering if its a name is supposed to echo the name of the original.
No,
Never-
yeah.
No,
they're both
no.
British. I wasn't sure if that was like a Britishism.
They are not both British.
Not
Little Big
British.
Adventure is French, asshole.
Is that a different place?
Oh, they are very different, motherfucker.
There is a whole channel between them.
Oh, I just remembered Little Big Adventure wasn't called Little Big Adventure in the US. It was called Relentless. So you might be more familiar with it under that title.
Twin Sons
Yes?
Adventure.
No?
Relentless Twin Sons. No, I know of the game. I've just never played it.
Okay.
Fun fact.
Yahtzee will wear a green hat in 4 weeks. Oh, hang on. Missed one. TJ Carr gives $5 and says, in the futuristic setting of Shadowrun, dragons can shapeshift into humans, and most are CEOs of the biggest money-hoarding megacorps on the planet.
Man.
Oh, how convenient. Oh, how convenient that the dragons can shapeshift into a form that perverts could theoretically fuck. Isn't that convenient every time a fantasy race
Perverts
has the
don't
ability
need
to
that.
have sex with a human being?
Yeah, you think perverts are going to let a big old dragon get in the way of getting your rocks off? Absolutely
I
not.
think there's a surprising amount of culture that is informed by perverts.
Hours?
Remember when there was the whole war between Blu-ray and HD DVD, and everyone was saying this was ultimately going to be decided by porn?
Porn. Sure enough.
Yeah. I mean, some of the very first photographs that were ever taken were porn. They're like, historically, porn has always been at the forefront of technology.
Yeah, first cave drawing. Bunch of porns.
Porn. Yeah, remember when they found all those frescoes when they dug up Pompeii?
Yeah.
And most of them were porn.
Yeah, they changed its name to Pornpay.
Yeah.
Turns out it wasn't a fucking volcano that exploded.
Yeah.
Goddamn.
Oh,
because
Hachi Machi.
And because Pompeii was discovered by the fucking Victorians, they proceeded to fucking destroy it all because they were weird about porn.
Rule Britannia. Britannia rules the waves.
Anyway, Yahtzee will wear a green hat in 4 weeks, gives €2, and says, cool Daves. Dave Serlin, Dave Batista, Dave Marsh, Dave Hollis. I've only heard of Dave Bautista out of those four.
Yeah.
But I'll grant you, Dave Bautista is a cool Dave.
He's a cool.
Yeah,
guy.
he is.
He's a good actor. Yeah, very progressive. Good guy. The rest of those sound fake.
Dave Lister? No. Fox D gives $2 and says, an axe, best melee weapon, and chops trees. But then you're implying that you're in a fucking crafting game where you have to chop trees.
That's true.
And that's why axes are bad.
Yeah.
Chainsaws are a melee weapon and also chop trees, but better.
Yes. Inarguably a melee weapon at that.
A gun that shoots bullets connected to a chain that retract back into the guns. Also,
Well, if you think about it this way, any ranged weapon is technically a melee weapon at the same time. Just beat them with it.
if you just beat someone with a,
Well, you're not employing it as a ranged weapon.
True.
it's only a weapon until.
While I agree, a gun is not a quote-unquote melee weapon.
It can be out of ammo.
It's got other strings to its bow. But an axe is inarguably a melee weapon. If you could only if you only had two bins and one was labeled melee weapon and one was labeled ranged weapon, you wouldn't put gun in melee weapon bucket, is my point.
I just beat the bucket. I'd pistol whip the bucket.
You're beating up the bucket?
Yeah, fuck the system. Stop trying to put me in a box. Beats box.
It's not a box, it's a bucket.
The bucket, sorry.
What about Kratos' axe? That's got ranged as well.
Leviathan axe. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool axe.
Well, yes, it's only ranged because he threw it. Anything's ranged when he threw it, and just as any ranged weapon can be used as a melee weapon.
See
but
now,
if you had two buckets and one was labeled melee weapons and one was labeled ranged weapons, you wouldn't put your axe in the ranged weapon bucket. Okay.
But it can be.
I have just a visual, these two big ass buckets that are just filled with all sorts of weapons. Some pretty cool buckets.
And my corpse on the ground because I keep going, but as I pick something
counterpoint, let me fight this bucket.
You actually kills me with it and then puts it in the correct bucket.
Now, granted, if you showed me a big rock about the size of your fist, now that could credibly be put in either the melee weapon bucket or the ranged weapon bucket.
True.
But an axe has a handle. It is clearly intended to be held.
What is C4?
Can we move on?
Like a gun has a handle.
Yes, but it's not the gun that kills people, is it? It's the bullet that's in the gun.
But then it's not the axe that kills people, it's you, the person who's
Why do we drive on parkways and park on driveways?
You're like one of those motherfuckers who keeps reminding everyone that tomatoes aren't technically vegetables.
That's what you would do. You sound like that person. You do that all the time.
And Mia, member for 9 months in the Green Gang, and says, heckle to play when 10, the actor had to improvise.
And yeah, that's a bad thing. Everyone stop heckling.
And they hated your fucking guts for it, I'm sure.
That person still looks in the mirror and is like, if I could find that kid.
Yes. I'll finally get the last word on that fucking kid. I will write it on the sole of my boot and then curb stomp them.
Mm-hmm. Melee, that's a melee attack.
Yes, undeniably. Susiguro 2000 gives €5 and says, in the Shrek universe, dragons don't need to shapeshift into humans for Donkey. Well, Donkey's quadrupedal.
Donkey's donkey. Shout out to Shrek.
Did you know that they based the mocap of Donkey in Shrek on the movements of a dog? Because donkeys don't move in a way that can be used for
appealing,
like fully appealing expressive ways. Like there was a scene where Donkey had to lie down, and donkeys just can't easily.
I've been to a donkey sanctuary in England multiple times. It's just a bunch of donkeys.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was expecting, honestly.
Just a ton of donkeys. Yeah. That's exactly what a donkey sanctuary. I thought it was going to be like a church. Like the donkey was going to be
I thought there'd be like some lore on the donkeys, like, something. Nope.
James Morgan gives $1.99 and says bow and arrow would just break as melee weapon.
Depends how, like, Legolas can use his bow as a melee weapon, but it's like elven crafted. So,
You know, thank you for bringing up bows and arrows, because I've got another bone to pick with a completely unrelated thing. Have you ever read the comic book series Ex Machina?
I have
Not read them.
It's a comic book. It's a comic book series about a mayor of New York who's like an ex-superhero who has the power to control machines. Right.
Right.
He uses this power to like stop guns that are in the hands of assassins that are trying to shoot him, and the guns don't work because he ordered them not to fire. Right. But there's also a scene where someone gets around that by firing a bow and arrow at him, and he's wounded by it, and his powers don't work on the bow and arrow. Now, what is the fundamental difference between a bow and arrow and a gun that meant his power to control machines worked on the gun, but not the bow and arrow?
well, and like, why? Like, is the human body? What makes the human body not a machine that he couldn't just stop someone's heart? Like, what's the difference?
Why? What the fuck is a gun? A gun is basically just a hammer that comes down on the back of a bullet. Everything else is just housing.
Yeah,
It's a spring-loaded hammer that hits the back of a bullet.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And like, if that was made out of wood,
Yeah.
would that not
Would that
work?
count as a machine?
with a crossbow. Yeah,
Exactly. Would a
point
crossbow
crossbow
count as a machine? What's a bow and arrow? It's moving parts.
Yeah.
It's a created device.
Yeah, that is tricky.
These fucking superhero creators, they don't think. They just don't think about these things.
The
we need to get
fuckers.
Brian K. Vaughan. We need to try him at the Hague. That's the problem.
Yeah.
That was a good
Get him
comic.
to
That's good.
pin him down, get him to explain himself.
It's a good comic.
Wherein lies the border? At what point would the powers start to work on the crossbow in the process of being transformed from a bow and arrow? Explain this to me. I am very intelligent. And then BS Marsh gives $2 and says, this argument is making my head hurt, and that's the last super chat.
But you can bring
Perfect way to
up
end.
this weapon argument later tonight on Hidden Gems, because this is the sort of dumb shit they love arguing about.
Yeah, 100%. Jess.
Yes, Jesse, Casey, it's time to argue.
Just I just switched to the live chat. Only Rubby Ninja says a gun is a firearm. There's a chemical change in the bullet which causes an explosion. But that's in the bullet. That's not the gun.
Mm-hmm.
Is a bullet a machine? It's just chemicals. It's an explosion of gunpowder that propels the... Oh, forget it. Hey, thanks for listening to this.
They create a gun out of chicken bones. Does a chicken bone gun?
Yeah, is that a machine?
Yeah.
If a chicken isn't a machine, is a chicken bone gun a machine?
Crazy.
Great question.
Anyway, thank you for listening to the Windbreakers podcast. You know, I'm writing like the next book in like the Data series, and I'm going to write a character who has the power to control machines just so I can like deconstruct this shit.
Perfect.
I'm going to put some thought into it.
I love it. Oh, by the way, a couple of folks asked earlier in the stream, and I thought we'd get a super chat about it, but we didn't. How everyone was worried about Toffee and Toffee's cone of shame.
Oh, yes. Toffee's got a cone of shame on. Because he should have been wearing it for like quite a while, actually, because he's got like a skin infection. And the vet gave us a cream for him to put on. And dozy bastard keeps licking the infection and it's not getting better. So he has to wear his cone, doesn't he?
Toffee
Because he can't be trusted.
right now.
He can't be trusted not to nosh his bits every
Toffee
time
looks
our backs
high.
are turned.
Look at Toffee. What a dog.
Cutie.
Great dog.
Anyway, that's it from me for today. I will see you on Wednesday for Fully Ramblematic, which will be on the subject of Sonic X Shadow Generations. And I'm sure you're all really chomping at the bit to hear my opinion on that one. Sonic fans.
Eric has a large counterpoint ready for you.
I'm sure he does. And of course, Yahtzee Tries on Wednesday, my usual weekly stream where I play indie games. Haven't decided what I'm playing on that. We'll figure that out closer to the date. And of course, on Sunday, there will be a Yahtzee Tries edited video where we put together the choice clips from the streams for the last 2 weeks and I do little mini reviews of the games involved. You don't have to watch the whole stream to find the funny bits anymore. Isn't technology grand?
Well, also Saturday. Come back Saturday for our all day.
Oh shit! Yes,
Bonanza.
come back Saturday because we're doing a celebration of our first year as Second Wind. First year getting out from under the corporate thumb. We'll all be getting together to play a whole bunch of shit.
Yeah,
Fuck yeah.
We're gonna be starting around 11 a.m. Central,
Yes.
and we'll do normal all day stream, rotating games, rotating folks.
And we got some pretty crazy incentives for every certain amount of Patreon subscribers we get from it.
Yeah. The max one is that we get Brian K. Vaughan on a Zoom call, and you can yell at him about the Xbox gun technology.
And I have to wear a silly hat.
Oh,
a green silly
a
hat.
green one.
Oh my goodness. What else we got this week? Team.
Streams and all the things. I have a design delve on Friday coming out on the worst boss fight of all time, so check that out.
If it's Sunset Overdrive, I'm fucking quitting.
Is it the Great Mighty Pooh?
See, okay. So this is why I love these types of videos, because it gets people in. I love hearing everything in the comments from everyone who thinks they know the worst thing. So you'll get to hear mine on Friday. It's very ranty, this episode. It's not the bed of chaos,
isn't it? It's not
the
bed of
answer. I'm gonna be honest. Jay's answer might be right. I don't want to say what it is, but it might be right.
Yeah. I spend like 15 minutes trying to explain why. So it's real bad. But yeah, that and then I'm also doing, I think on Wednesday I'm gonna start doing personal streams. So in the evening on the East Coast time. So come hang out for that, and I'm potentially gonna be doing some fundraiser streams to try and raise some money to help get Ludo over here, because it's looking like it's gonna be very expensive. So might be doing that. And then yes, Saturday, come hang out. I'm on every single slot apart from one. So you'll be seeing a shit ton of me. So either come join or stay away.
I've been volunteered for a fair bit.
And then on Friday, you guys might be doing a DevHedge tangential stream.
Potentially, yeah. We might be, if things line up, we may be doing a DevHead stream with Tina, Mikey, myself, and Friedrich Olsen from the Bunker team, playing through some of that. It was meant to be a Halloween stream, but Tina could not make it for the original time, so we're going to try and do it again. But we shall see. There may or may not be that stream on Friday. Just keep a pin in that.
Excellent. And then, the normal stuff later today. Hidden Gems, they're replaying Fury. You've played Fury, right?
I rather liked Fury. I would call it a hidden gem. I liked it. It should be unhidden if it is.
Hopefully. Well, Casey's playing it. It feels like a game that's right up Casey's alley. So they'll be playing that. We got a new Rewind tomorrow at the normal time. We'll be chatting about the Penguin Show and Arcane and all sorts of good stuff. The Jessies will be playing more Resi 2 tomorrow afternoon. And then we'll be back with Metroid Prime on Thursday, and then Metroid or 3 p.m. Central on Thursday. I believe we're going to be doing a sponsored stream. Jack and I are going to be playing a sponsored game at 3 p.m. on Thursday, so tune in for that. I think that's it.
Boom. Well, that's it from us then. We'll see you all soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.